You head to Wallace's underground labyrinth to look for the magician Lucain. This underground labyrinth is said to have been made in a single night with powerful magic. It is a dangerous place, replete with traps. It bars entry to all who would dare. Out of the blue, a mouse darts out and leaps onto your palm. The rodent claims to be the apprentice of Wallace the magician. He says he was tasked with caring for the laboratory while Wallace was gone, but it is beset by malevolent magic users. When you ask about Lucain, the apprentice answers that his master's friend went into the labyrinth and hasn't returned. Your quest to find Lucain is delayed as you attempt to liberate the lab for Ricky the magician's apprentice. The door to the laboratory is through this hall. Because the laboratory was being misused, some of the experiments housed within have now run amok. There's been a population explosion of mutated beings that spread their spores around. The labyrinth is overrun by fungi. You found some bones that seem to belong to Lucain in the depths of the labyrinth. The tattered raiments and jewelry leave no doubt that the corpse is indeed Lucain's. You found Lucain, but he was dead. You imagine the fairy will be overcome with grief, but you need to return to her. When you enter the laboratory, the fairy frantically flits around you, as if it senses your uneasiness. Upon seeing Lucain's bones, the fairy enters into a panic. She begins tugging at your arm to get you to leave the tower. The fairy is apparently attempting to lead you somewhere. You collect Lucain's bones and follow her. As you enter, a kindly voice echoes from the back. You seem to be in need of help, a monk says, and approaches you. You nervously hand the monk the bones of Lucain. Allow this heart to beat again. Quench their thirst. Lead the wandering soul back. Reverse death. And awaken them. The prayer reaches the goddess, and the pile of bones is once again given flesh. Lucain, shocked to find himself alive, thanks you profusely. He tells you to visit him at his laboratory and leaves. The resurrected magician has returned to the old tower in town. You decide to see him to ask more details. The magician Lucain is waiting for you in the laboratory of the old tower. It seems that dying had an adverse effect on his short-term memory. Lucain can't remember why he went to meet Wallace. Lucain is researching magic called runes, which are closely tied to spirits and fairies. Lucain introduces his fairy friend to you. Her name is Tiki. She left the fairy forest due to her strong curiosity. He thanks you again for saving him and allowing him to enjoy life's rich pageant. He displays his magic trinkets. Lucane says he'd be happy to sell you these items at a fraction of the normal price and answer any questions you have. What will you ask? The magician Wallace was an old friend of Lucane's. He was known as a great magician. He sealed that group, or myopia of Cyclopes, in a labyrinth and saved the land. He also mentored young magicians in his tower. He was also the king's trusted advisor, and Lucane trails off. It seems that Lucane's memory has failed him again. Before you realize it, Tiki is following you around. She seems to have taken a liking to you. She will accompany you on your adventures henceforth. Fairies are known to be adept at finding hidden things.
What troubles you, my child?
Allow this heart to beat again.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed.
A letter from the castle has come to you via the guild. It simply says to report to the castle in all haste.
Back again, eh? There's a job.
You assume that the letter was sent by the Prime Minister. Perhaps he has another request for you. Count Dean is waiting for you at the throne room. It is he who sent the letter. After your previous encounter, you can only assume that he's up to something nefarious. You brace for combat. The guards have drawn their swords and are blocking the exit. Count Dean starts talking to you in a soft voice. He says that he has personally requested your assistance in performing a task for him. He wants you to scout Bilberan Fortress on the border. This underground fortress is a well-known structure. Originally built to defend against the Orc army, it now lies in Orc hands. Scout them and learn their invasion routes. It is a very dangerous mission, but refusal means that you will be at the mercy of Dean's guards. you accept. Per Count Dean's request, you agreed to infiltrate and surveil the subterranean fortress at the country's border.
Welcome to my shop. What would you like? Which one do you want?
The Orc army presently controls Bilberon, the underground fortress built into the canyon. The king's army has been mounting a fierce offensive to try and reclaim the fortress. You step into the enemy kitchen. A corpulent chef grabs a goblin instead of meat and suddenly stops. The cook, sensing your presence, stares directly at you. Luckily, her sight's not so keen, so she doesn't notice you. Eventually, the chef returns to her meat cutting. You use the goblin's screams to mask your escape. After defeating the Minotaur, you move through the sewer's filth. The reconnaissance mission went well. You gathered intel and slipped back across enemy lines. Among the treasures you claimed is the great sword of the hero Javelin. You succeeded in acquiring intel on the underground fortress. This job will be completed once you report to Count Dean. You report everything you learned to Count Dean. Unfortunately, you also mention the hero's legendary sword. Naturally, he demands the great sword, but at least he's in a good mood now. He thought you'd just flee, but you didn't. It seems that he thinks much more highly of you now. Dean confides in you some of the problems in the castle. Once the king went missing, the Prime Minister began recommending the Archduke MacNeil of Bulgar to the throne. Bulgar is an aggressive nation to the north. MacNeil is related to the King of Hydeland and has a legal claim to the throne. Count Dean claims that MacNeil has been rallying nobles in Hydeland to support his claim to the throne. That's why Dean hired Tommet to steal the scepter. He says that Tommet is extremely trustworthy, so long as he is paid. Suddenly, the Prime Minister and the Princess appear. It seems you are being watched. The Count glowers and departs. The Prime Minister warns you not to involve yourself any further. The Princess, as usual, looks back with blank eyes. Since you completed the job at the castle, you return to the Adventurers Guild to tell them what transpired. Roland also happens to be here to report on a job. However, Samuel is not here. Roland is waiting for him to return. Roland thinks that he just missed him, and asks you to track down the guildmaster and bring him back. You look for Samuel, the guildmaster. He should be somewhere in town.
Welcome to my shop. Which one do you want?
What troubles you, my child?
A giant man in armor finishes his prayers and turns around. His pensive expression quickly turns fierce as he sees you. He tells you that he was praying because he has sent many friends to look for the king, but they haven't found the slightest clue. When you ask to help, Samuel just nods and hands you a request form. It's the same request the temple gave you. In a remote region, marriageable girls are disappearing one by one. The catacombs are believed to be linked somehow. Allow this heart. As you leave the temple, a ragged old man slumped in the road calls out to you in a gravelly voice. His raspy voice makes it difficult for you to discern if he's even speaking your language. You can give him a coin if you feel pity for him. Of course, you're free to walk away as well. He doesn't even acknowledge the coin. He mutters, over and over. You probably won't be able to communicate with him, no matter how long you strain your concentration. To solve the mystery of the disappearances, you head to the catacombs, where the villagers fear to tread. In the catacombs, stark white bones are strewn about the ground as far as the eye can see. The sheer number of the deceased is the only indication left of this area's former prosperity. A strange knight stumbles out of the darkness towards you. You surmise that he is not of this world. The knight is muttering to himself, as if in a daze. If I end my own life, they can no longer sacrifice me. When you move closer, the knight extends his hand. He's holding a scroll. When you accept it, the knight disappears. The path ahead of you is connected to the ruins of the castle colloquially called the Castle of the Dead. In olden times, whenever a girl disappeared, the locals would say she'd been called to the Castle of the Dead. The vampire smirks and flies away. You saved a village girl. You must protect her now.
Thank you.
Protect the village girl. If she's bitten by the others, she will become a vampire as well. The kidnapped girls had been turned. They are now vampires, attacking other people. You utter a silent prayer, hoping that you have slain the last vampire, and leave the ruins. In your hands is the bloody scroll that the ghost knight had given you. You have unraveled the mystery of the village girl's disappearances. Obtain your reward at the guild.